Unexpected decision. Single mom reveals the incredible answer that transformed her life forever. Lisa stared blankly at the shifting puddles outside her cramped apartment window. The raindrops seemed to mimic the thoughts racing in her mind, a torrent of doubt crashing against her walls of hope. As a nurse at the local clinic, her days were spent caring for others, yet the weight of her own life pressed down heavily. 2 children, countless bills, and endless responsibilities, she often felt as if she was treading water, struggling to keep her head above it all. Love for her kids fueled her determination, but with each paycheck that barely covered necessities, a gnawing fear gripped her. Was she enough? Did she dare to dream beyond survival? That evening, while searching for winter clothes in the dusty attic, she stumbled upon a box tucked away, a relic of her father. Inside were faded letters filled with his dreams of painting, candid expressions of longing that clawed at her heart. His words ignited a flicker within her. What if she could reclaim the vibrant colors he spoke of? The passion he never pursued whispered to her. You could do this, she thought as inspiration swirled around her like the brush strokes on a canvas. Before she knew it, she made an unexpected decision, enrolling in night classes at the community college. But excitement morphed into anxiety as she grappled with the challenge of juggling long shifts and late-night studies. A sense of exhilaration mixed with trepidation coursed through her. Could she truly carve out time for herself amidst the chaotic demands of motherhood and work? As the week passed, doubt nagged at her relentlessly. Exhausted after her shifts, the looming assignments felt insurmountable. One night, panic gripped her as she discovered an art piece due the following day, blank canvas glaring back at her like an accusation. I can't do this, she murmured, shoulders slumping in defeat. The walls felt like they were closing in. Then, her kids wandered in, giggling at a shared joke, their innocent laughter breaking the darkness. They too had dreams, and in that moment, Lisa realized they were intertwined. Without her courage, wouldn't their aspirations dim as well? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Shaken, Lisa found herself in class that night, breathing deeply and focusing on the brush in her hand. Ms. Garcia, the instructor, noticed her tension and offered gentle encouragement. You've got potential, Lisa. Believe in yourself. Those words ignited a flicker of hope, yet the nagging fear of societal judgment loomed, heavy like the rain outside. What if she failed? What if they whispered about her, the single mother attempting to reach for something more than just surviving? As the weeks unfolded, her work gained attention, and soon Lisa was invited to showcase her art at a local gallery. Excitement pulsed through her, erupting into a swirl of pride and anxiety. How could she reveal her truth, her struggles? Standing in front of the community felt daunting. Should she hide behind the painted canvas, or let them see the cracks beneath her facade? With every passing day, the weight of this decision pressed heavier. Here she was, perched at the precipice of transformation. Would she step forward into the unknown, or retreat back to the suffocating familiarity of her fears? The rain continued to fall, echoing her inner turmoil, leaving her heart racing as she contemplated the path ahead. As the days slipped by like raindrops racing down her window, Lisa found herself lost in a whirlwind of uncertainty. Day after day, she sat before her blank canvas, the pristine white surface glaring back at her with an accusatory stillness. The thrill of being invited to showcase her work clashed violently with the suffocating dread that gripped her heart. She sought refuge in her routine, dedicated to her nursing duties during the day while desperately trying to balance her classes at night. Yet, every attempt to paint felt like grasping at smoke, her ideas eluding her like shadows. The anxiety continued to build, whispering viciously, "You are not an artist. You're merely playing pretend." Then came the pivotal moment. One evening, after wrapping up a grueling shift, fatigue tugged heavily at her limbs, but Lisa knew she had to push through. A deadline loomed ahead, the gallery exhibition just around the corner. As she pored over the colors on her palette, doubt seeped into her thoughts once more. What could she possibly contribute that would resonate? A vision formed. The memories of her father's dreams pulsed through her mind. In that instant, she decided she would not shy away from vulnerability. Filled with a renewed sense of purpose, she began to explore her experiences as a single mother in her art. Each stroke of the brush became an avenue for expression, a way to transform her pain and joy into a visual narrative. What if they see the authenticity behind the colors? She mused. The notion pulled her forward, no longer paralyzed by fear, but propelled by the possibility of connection. Weeks passed, and the night of the gallery opening drew ever closer. Lisa immersed herself in this process, her colors vibrant with experiences, nurtured moments with her children, quiet battles waged in the solitude of the night, and the relentless fight to validate her own worth. Each creation felt like a breakthrough, but the crippling fear of judgment remained, lurking just beneath the surface. What would others think when they saw who she truly was? The night before the exhibition, Lisa stood before her completed pieces, each canvas reflecting shards of her soul. Suddenly, anxiety morphed into courage, awakening a flame within her. She realized that sharing her truth could empower not only herself, but also those who resonated with her struggles. If she could illuminate her path, perhaps it could serve as a beacon for others navigating their own darkness. Lights dimmed over the gallery. As she entered, the buzz of excited chatter filled the air. Each smile, every curious glance seemed to slice away pieces of her fear. Her heart raced as she approached her artwork, her voice shaking but resolute. These pieces reflect an unfiltered part of my journey, she opened, the joys and the battles I faced daily as a single mother. As she spoke, hands shaking yet steady, Lisa felt an unprecedented wave of liberation wash over her. The stories behind her paintings became a bridge, forming connections with those who had faced similar challenges and triumphs. The warmth of shared understanding cascaded through the room, erasing the loneliness she'd felt prior. She could see it in their eyes: curiosity, empathy, and the beginnings of connection. Yet beyond the admiration, the momentous fear remained. This was just the beginning. What would happen when the applause faded? Would she be able to maintain this newfound courage amidst the realities of life? In the glow of the gallery lights, she stood at the intersection of hope and uncertainty, wondering about the impact of this moment. Could she continue to transform her life through her art, or would the demands of her daily responsibilities suffocate her ambitions once more? And there, in the vibrant energy of the room, a deeper question began to form. What if the true test lay ahead, not in showcasing her art, but in discovering who she could be beyond the brush and canvas? The morning after the exhibition, Lisa woke to a house filled with an unfamiliar quietude. The children were still asleep, and street sounds filtered through the slightly ajar window. She stretched and felt a sense of peace, yet deeper inside, a restless energy brewed. The event felt like a turning point, but she understood that the aftermath would demand more from her than just the thrill of recognition. Coffee brewing, she stood in her kitchen, picturing the faces that had lit up in the gallery. Maybe it was not only about her art, but about forging reciprocal relationships through shared experiences. Yet, as the day progressed, the sleek finish of her success faded into the gray of routine responsibilities. The exhibition had granted her visibility, but maintaining the momentum felt like an equally daunting endeavor. The children's voices broke through her reverie as they awoke, their laughter filling the air moments later. Lisa marveled at their carefree joy. They deserved a mother who was as dynamically present as their conversations. It struck her that if she wished to embrace this new chapter of her life, she must weave together her roles as an artist and a mother without compromising either. Her day at the hospital was laced with the familiar cadence of caregiving, small triumphs with patience, moments of connection that reminded her of the importance of empathy. In the interactions between herself and those in her care, she noticed reflections of her own journey. There was healing in every exchange, every story shared. Perhaps this was the uncharted territory she needed to explore further: how to integrate her nursing with her evolving identity as an artist. After finishing her shift, Lisa sat down to make a list of potential projects. What if she combined her art and storytelling skills to create a series focused on the lives of her patients? Each canvas could tell a different story rooted in resilience, echoing her struggles as a single mother. They could all serve as reminders that every human experienced joy, sorrow, struggle was intrinsically valuable. The thought energized her, sparking new ideas. However, it also stirred doubts. Who was she to think she could convey their narratives accurately? What if her artistic interpretation didn't do justice to their experiences? Still, with each passing moment, she felt a compelling urge to take this leap, to carve out new dimensions within her creative expression. The fear of inadequacy danced with the desire for authenticity, and she found herself facing another moral dilemma. Was it possible to honor others' truths while exposing her own? That evening, after tucking the children into bed, she took out the canvases left over from the exhibition. With renewed determination, she grabbed her brush, deciding to pour all the conflicting emotions onto the palette. The strokes turned visceral. Her brush danced between narratives, bearing witness to the fragility and strength of human connection. But then came the sharp interruption. Her phone buzzed with a message from the gallery owner, inviting her to a feedback session about the exhibition. Her heartbeat quickened. Was she ready to face scrutiny again? Lisa leaned back, grappling with mixed feelings. The safety of anonymity felt increasingly appealing, yet she craved the opportunity to grow, to reflect on how her work resonated with others. The choice loomed before her: hide away or step into the light once more. Taking a deep breath, she typed a response, her fingers hovering unsurely over the keyboard. This moment felt pivotal, not just about facing feedback, but a barometer for the woman she was becoming. As she hit send, it became clear this was not only a decision about her art, but her evolution. In that moment, Lisa recognized that each step she took was a part of a broader journey toward understanding her identity. As she sank deeper into the colorful world waiting on her canvas, she pondered the implications of her impending confrontation. The moment of truth was nearing, and with it, the pressing question: how? Would she reconcile her past fears with this newfound purpose? The day of the feedback session felt heavy in Lisa's chest, each tick of the clock amplifying her anxiety. What could they possibly say about her work? The nervous energy that had once propelled her to create now morphed into fear. She had shielded herself from critique long enough, seeking solace in the familiarity of her paintbrush, but now she was stepping into a realm carved by observation and opinion. As she dressed, her reflection offered an unfamiliar sight. She looked like the confident artist she aspired to be, her wardrobe freshly steeped in creativity, a vivid scarf wrapping around a simple tunic. Yet, beneath that exterior, doubt brewed. What if her pieces failed to resonate? Would their perceptions shatter the small world she had so cautiously built? Arriving at the gallery, the air hummed with anticipation. Artists and critics gathered, each lost in their own reverie of creation and critique. Lisa took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment to absorb the surroundings. This was her time. She belonged here. As the meeting commenced, her heart raced, rasping against her ribcage. Attendees shared their thoughts on various works, giving praise and constructive criticism. Then, the gallery owner turned to Lisa, a warm smile illuminating her face. "Let us hear from you, Lisa," she gestured. In that instant, time suspended. All she could think of was the canvas that lay waiting at home, unformed ideas swirling like the colors on her palette. "I want to create a series that tells the stories of my patients," she surprised herself by saying. "Their resilience impacts me in ways I often don't understand until I pick up a brush." The gallery owner nodded, intrigued. A blend of storytelling and artistry? That's ambitious, but it's an extraordinary angle to explore. What would that look like? Constraining excitement pushed her words forth. Each painting would capture a moment from their lives, a dialogue of struggle and triumph, infused with my own narrative, uniquely intertwined. I want to honor their stories while also revealing the pieces of myself reflected in them. Yet as her passion spilled out, questions arose anew in her mind. Was it right to claim their stories as nuances in her own? Would the connections she sought be seen as appropriation? Faced with these thoughts, Lisa recognized unfamiliar tension curling in her gut. The session continued, feedback swirling around her, punctuated by flashes of encouragement that buoyed her spirits. But that questioning lingered like an unwelcome guest, and as the conversation deepened, She found herself increasingly lost in her internal struggle. After the meeting, she felt exhilaration wash over her, but it quickly dissipated, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Encountering critical analysis had ignited a fire inside her, one that craved not just technical growth but a reckoning with her identity as an artist. In that uncertain moment, Lisa made a decision. She would schedule meetings with her patients, deepening her understanding not just to document their stories, but to connect, to listen, and ultimately, to grow. This was about more than her art. It was about understanding the very fabric of her existence woven through their lives. She had the power to narrate their strength through her talent. As a sense of determination replaced her fear, she realized the act of creation was no longer bound strictly to the canvas. It expanded into engaging with those she cared for, learning resilience through their truths. She could turn conflict into story, pain into color. But as her resolve solidified, a nagging thought surfaced. Could she truly navigate this new journey without completely losing herself to the narratives of others? The internal debate reignited. At what point would her voice risk being overshadowed by the stories she sought to tell? Standing outside the gallery, the world felt reborn, vibrant and chaotic, yet hopeful. The road ahead twisted before her, sharply delineating the artist she aspired to be from the one who had been. And in that moment, the thrilling prospect of discovery loomed. If she ventured into these personal narratives, what might she learn about herself beyond the brush, beyond the canvas? As she drove home, a chilling realization hit her. She was on the verge of not just creating art, but unraveling layers of her identity she had yet to confront. Would she find the courage to keep revealing those hidden facets of herself? The thought reverberated in her mind, compelling her to face the greater question to come. Would she be able to share her own story alongside those of her patients, enriching each other's truths without losing her own? Lisa woke up the next morning with a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in her mind. The feedback session had opened her to new possibilities, igniting not only a longing to express and create, but also a nagging anxiety about how to navigate the myriad of stories she would soon encounter. She brewed a strong cup of coffee, hoping the caffeine would sharpen her focus as she prepared for her first meeting with Mary, a patient whose life had been marked by untold resilience. Sitting at her kitchen table, Lisa's heart raced as she skimmed through her notes. Each bullet point was meant to guide her discussion, but deep down, she feared they could become a cage, stifling the genuine connection she sought. What do I really want to know? She pondered, realizing it was not just Mary's story she aimed to uncover, but also the truths about herself that had long remained obscured. When she arrived at the clinic, Lisa felt a surge of determination. Mary greeted her with a warm smile, a stark contrast to the wounds she carried. Sitting across from her, Lisa took a deep breath, choosing to lean into vulnerability. Thank you for meeting with me today. I want to understand your journey better, not just for my art, but to connect and learn from your experiences. What has it been like for you? The openness in her voice seemed to set the tone, allowing Mary to share her narrative freely. Over the next hour, Lisa listened as Mary spoke of struggles interlaced with hope, the darkness of isolation illuminated by small moments of joy. Each flicker of triumph became a vibrant brushstroke in the painting that began to form in Lisa's mind. This was not merely an interview. It was an exchange of humanity. Yet, as she listened, Lisa felt the weight of her artistic aspirations collide with the ethical implications of her quest. How do I honor your truth while using it as inspiration? She thought, the worry forming a knot in her stomach. This tension returned, as the line between expression and appropriation became blurring with each new word that fell from Mary's lips. Days turned into weeks, and Lisa's meetings continued with Mary and other patients. She cultivated an emotional tapestry rich with stories, each thread woven from the fabric of their experiences. Yet, the nagging thought that she might lose her own voice began to play on repeat in her mind. How could she respect their narratives? How could she allow her own perspective to coalesce without overshadowing theirs? As the deadline for her series approached, Lisa stood before her canvas, blank and daunting. The pressure mounted, the fragments of her encounters tumbled around her like paint splattered too chaotically on the ground. In that chaos, she had an epiphany. Perhaps it wasn't about merging their stories with hers, but rather creating a dichotomy that celebrated both. She could tell their stories with authenticity while still allowing her own voice to resonate alongside them. But embracing this delicate balance was easier theorized than executed. Lisa knew it was time to confront her fears directly. She reached for her phone and called Mary. "Can we meet again? I want your insight on how I can do justice to your story," she asked, her voice steady yet brimming with determination. The conversation they shared upon meeting again opened a door into joint authorship. Lisa discovered that Mary had stories of her own desires, dreams, and even fears about how she would be interpreted through Lisa's brushes. This exchange unlocked something in Lisa, a realization that her responsibility as an artist extended beyond the aesthetic into something more profound and collaborative. But as she delved deeper, a voice inside her questioned, will this collaborative effort challenge her own authority as an artist? Will her voice be lost in this complexity? The intricacies only posed more questions. Lisa left that meeting invigorated yet unsettled, aware that the next steps would demand more than just creative aptitude. They would demand integrity, introspection, and above all, courage. As she drove home, she felt the magnitude of her commitment, knowing she was now not just an observer, but an active participant in a rich, shared narrative. What would this journey reveal about her own truths? The next canvas awaited, a palette ready to capture not only others' resilience, but the fragments of her own identity seeking to emerge. Would she rise to the challenge, or would the fear of losing herself in others' stories overshadow her artistic potential? As the days rolled on, Lisa found herself caught in a whirlpool of emotions, threading through her artistic journey with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Each subsequent meeting with Mary and the other patients revealed layers of depth within their stories that she felt compelled to honor. Yet, she worried about the fine line. She was walking the line between inspiration and exploitation. One afternoon, while curating her notes at a local cafe, her mind was a cloud of conflicting thoughts. Lisa peered out the window, watching the world go by, the cadence of life continuing unabated. "What am I creating?" she questioned, the hesitation in her heart growing louder. She wanted to delve into the richness of their experiences while ensuring she was not merely playing the role of a voyeuristic artist, extracting without giving. That evening, the weight of her internal struggle loomed over her as she returned home. As her daughter, Mia, played quietly in the living room, Lisa's gaze flickered to the sketches pinned on the wall, abstractions inspired by her patient's stories. They lacked the vibrancy of authenticity, a realization that sent a pang of frustration through her. What was missing? Suddenly, she envisioned a blank canvas not just as a canvas, but as a portal into a world where her thoughts and emotions could intermingle with those of the individuals she was portraying. What if she painted not only their stories, but also her responses to them? The insights, the empathy, and even her own vulnerabilities could all contribute to a multidimensional piece that honored their experiences while enriching her own. Yet, that thought tangled her mind in concern. Would this approach be seen as self-indulgent? The little voice inside nagged, "You have to prioritize their stories." As she wrestled with this dilemma, the blankness of her canvas loomed again. What if she lost the essence she sought to encapsulate? Driven by a mix of resolve and anxiety, Lisa decided to invite Mary over for a more informal meeting. "Let us do this differently. I want to share my interpretations and feelings and see how they resonate with you," she proposed, her voice unwavering despite the fears whispering in the back of her mind. Mary's agreement lifted the weight from Lisa's shoulders, yet a shadow of doubt loomed. In the days leading up to their encounter, she meticulously arranged her notes, preparing to share not just her artistic ambitions, but also her uncertainties. That day, the sun poured into her apartment, illuminating her workspace, casting vibrant reflections of the hopes she felt, yet internally, she was wrestling with dread. When Mary arrived, Lisa made a conscious effort to frame their conversation as a dialogue rather than a mere critique. "I want to know how you would feel about seeing not only your story, but also how it interacts with my perspective," she began. As Mary settled into the discussion, her candidness invited Lisa to peel back her own layers in response. "There's a fear that my art, while inspired by you, will overshadow your voice. I worry about getting it wrong, she confessed, her breath catching momentarily as she confronted her vulnerability. It was the first time she had allowed herself to voice that panic, and it felt liberating yet terrifying. Understanding that you feel that way is important, Mary responded thoughtfully. It's the personal connection that counts. It's about how I would want my story to be shared. You feeling this way validates the importance of our collaboration. Feeling a spark of reassurance from Mary, Lisa took a deeper breath. Her artistic journey had morphed into a reciprocal relationship where both their narratives could coexist. But even as she tentatively settled into this new framework, a haunting question remained unanswered. Would this collaboration deepen her own understanding, or would it blur the lines of her identity as an artist? The thrill of discovering new dimensions intertwined with the anxious flutter of uncertainty tinged the air between them. With every word shared in that simple conversation, Lisa felt her original fears both ebbing and morphing into something more profound. As she packed away the notes after Mary left, Lisa's heart beat faster. Her mind churned with new ideas, but also with growing anxiety. Could she now step forward without losing her authenticity? What would it take to encapsulate both the rawness of Mary's story and her own evolving voice while celebrating their intertwined experiences? The brush trembled in her hand as she stood before the canvas, ready to explore the burgeoning complexity of their newly minted partnership. Either she could cling to her original approach for safety or leap into the unknown territory of this shared authorship. The choice loomed as the next stroke awaited her command. But the question lingered, could she truly and safely navigate between her identity and the stories she had yet to embrace? Lisa stood before the blank canvas, her heart racing as she contemplated the vibrant possibilities that lay hidden within it. Slowly, she began to lose herself in the surface of vast expanse of potential waiting for her touch. She could already feel the interplay of emotions stirring inside her, a reflection of both her own journey and that of Mary's. What would happen if she dared to blend their narratives? Yet, uncertainty remained an invasive companion. What if this new approach not only blurred the lines, but also muddied the story she intended to honor? Each stroke felt like a gamble that could either ruin her connection with Mary or deepen it. With a sharp intake of breath, she realized her artistic venture had become soaked in the complexities of self-discovery, each brushstroke inviting her to confront uncomfortable truths about her identity as an artist and mother. As she painted, the hues of Mary's struggles began to weave into her own palette. How could she potentially channel the despair entwined in Mary's fight with her mental health? How could she embody the resilience shining through the cracks? Struggling inwardly, Lisa pushed herself to dig deeper into her emotions, unearthing feelings she hadn't acknowledged since childhood. A smear of green became the envy she felt towards those unaffected by their struggles, while splashes of gray reflected the shadows of doubt that loomed large in her psyche. The dialogue with Mary had revealed layers of vulnerability, yet here, alone with her canvas, Lisa was also forced to confront her fears. The pressure was suffocating, a test of her resolve. What if I fail? Was a question that bellowed through her mind, reframing itself into phrases like, what if I'm not enough? Or what if this leads to more pain? As she wrestled with her internal demons, clarity began to dawn. Each of her fears was another layer to dissect, another color to mix. After hours of painting, the surface looked more alive, yet something still felt off. It needed to be more than just a representation of their stories. It needed a breakthrough. In desperation, Lisa reached for her journal and started writing a stream of consciousness, pouring out her thoughts as if they were as integral to the art as the paint itself. She reflected on motherhood, on moments shared with Mia, moments that felt connected to the struggles of Mary and others. Suddenly, she understood. Her personal experiences, her identity as a single mother navigating solitude and ambition held just as much weight as the stories she sought to capture. Rather than being an artist manipulating someone else's trauma for gain, she could transform her own struggles into powerful strokes of understanding. Uniting her own journey with Mary's would not only give authenticity to her pieces, but affirm the shared human experience, a tapestry woven through both pain and joy. The revelation was liberating, and she could feel the tension within her begin to ease. With renewed focus, Lisa returned to the canvas and began adding bold lines and sweeping shapes, allowing the confidence to build within. She no longer felt as though she were stepping on fragile ground. Instead, she was forging a path of communion between her truth and Mary S. But just as she felt anchored, a knock at the door startled her, shattering the moment. The noise reverberated through the apartment and shook her newfound sense of direction. She hesitated. Who could it be? A seed of dread sprouted as she realized the ground she had so carefully navigated was suddenly at risk of upheaval. With a racing heart, Lisa stepped away from her painting, caught between the thrill of her artistic evolution and the intrusion of an unknown visitor. As her hand gripped the doorknob, uncertainty flooded her senses once more. Who stood on the other side? Would they understand the journey she was forging with Mary? Or would they threaten to disrupt the intricate balance she had finally begun to achieve within herself? Anxiety rose. Mingling with determination, it was time to face whatever lay on the other side. And as the door creaked open, she braced herself for the unexpected revelation awaiting her. The door swung open, and Lisa's breath caught in her throat. Standing before her was a figure she hadn't seen in years, her estranged sister, Claire. Time had etched soft lines around her eyes, yet the familiar glimmer of fight remained present, a mixture of vulnerability and determination that mirrored Lisa's own path. "Lisa," Claire said, her voice wavering, "I know this is unexpected." The initial shock rippled through Lisa like a wave, disorienting her. She had rehearsed 1,000 conversations in her mind, all rooted in bitterness and unresolved conflict. Instead, she found herself staring at a person who, like her, had faced shadows of her own making. "You shouldn't have come," Lisa replied, her tone firm but lacking the usual edge of hostility. The weight of their shared past hung between them, and for a moment, the familiar fractiousness buttoned up the vulnerability she had begun to unearth. Claire shifted her weight, her gaze dropping momentarily to the floor before returning to meet Lisa's. "I need to talk to you, to explain why I disappeared." With floods of hurt rising to the forefront of her mind, Lisa hesitated. She had cultivated her walls to protect her fragile self, stitching them together with threads of artistic expression and the chaos of motherhood. Claire's life had taken a different trajectory, one defined by choices neither had fully understood. "You have a lot of explaining to do, and you've got a lot of nerve showing up after everything." Lisa shot back, her defensiveness flaring unexpectedly. The walls she had built were suddenly reinforced, but did she really want to keep them up? "I know, and I don't expect forgiveness," Claire answered, her vulnerability disarming. "But maybe we can find a way to understand each other. Just let me explain." With that, Lisa felt a swath of tension coursing through her. A mix of fear and curiosity invaded her mind. This moment, her sister standing before her, had the potential to uncover a trove of emotions Lisa had long since buried. Part of her bristled at the possible emotional turmoil, while another part felt that the risk of connection could carry surprising revelations. "Fine," Lisa relented, stepping aside and allowing Claire into the warmth of her home. The apartment was a reflection of her inner world, chaotic yet oddly comforting. She motioned toward the small kitchen table, a space that had seen many conversations while also holding shadows of isolation. As Claire settled into a chair, Lisa's eyes were drawn to the half-finished painting propped against the wall, the embodiment of her journey. Would sharing this pivotal moment with Claire fortify her growth, or would it unleash fresh doubts? Claire's gaze followed Lisa's, resting briefly on the canvas before meeting her sister's eyes. "Is this what you're working on?" she asked, curiosity flickering in her expression. "Yeah," Lisa replied cautiously. "It's a blend of my story and someone else's. I'm trying to find my voice." "What if you find more than just your own voice?" Claire questioned, tilting her head as if measuring Lisa's resolve. "What if you discover something about the choices we've both made?" The question reverberated in Lisa's mind, setting off an internal dialogue about the intersection of their lives and the unspoken burden of their choices. Did she dare to confront her own history at this moment? Could she allow another layer of vulnerability in the wake of her recent artistic breakthrough? A silence ensued, heavy with promise and uncertainty. Lisa's mind raced, recalling her recent revelations, the mixing of her truth with Mary's struggles, and now, the potential intersection of her own choices alongside Claire's. "I don't know about that," Lisa finally said, her voice low. But maybe, just maybe, it's worth peeling back the layers. The door to understanding had cracked open, but Lisa felt the weight of the unknown looming just beyond. Would facing the past allow her to navigate the intricate balance of her present, intertwining her journey with the very sister who once pulled away? As Lisa prepared to listen, she sensed the winds of change beginning to swirl around her, whispering promises of transformation. But the question lingered. What hidden facets of her identity would surface in this newfound dialogue? The moment was thick with possibility, and as she steadied herself for Claire's story, Lisa couldn't shake off the feeling that this conversation would redefine everything. Lisa took a deep breath, willing herself to remain open to whatever story Claire was about to unravel. The weight of their shared history felt immense, yet here was a chance for something new, perhaps even redemptive for both of them. As she settled in, the bustling sounds of the outside world faded, leaving an almost surreal silence that filled the room. "Okay, I'm listening," Lisa said, her voice steadier now. Claire nodded, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. Lisa noticed a flicker of vulnerability in her sister's eyes, a reflection of the uncertainty she herself often experienced as an artist. Claire had once been a stranger, but now she was a conduit for potential healing. "I left because," Claire began, her voice faltering. "I thought I was doing the right thing. Our family was falling apart, and I didn't know how to fix it. So I ran away. I thought distancing myself would ease the chaos." Lisa's heart tightened as Claire spoke, memories of their parents' turbulent relationship and the scars it left behind rushing back. The chaotic echoes of her own childhood resonated deeply. She understood the instinct to escape. It felt like an echo of her own creative retreats. But it wasn't the right solution, was it? Lisa asked, a challenge lurking in her tone. "You didn't even reach out. You just disappeared." Claire's expression shifted, and for the first time, Lisa witnessed the full depth of her sister's regret. "I thought it was easier for both of us. But for years, I've been haunted by our past. I watched you struggling from afar, and I've seen your art. You've blossomed despite everything." The compliment struck Lisa deeply, sparking a warmth she hadn't anticipated. "You've seen my work?" she whispered, surprised. Claire nodded, forcing out a tender smile. "I always wanted to understand you better, but I was too afraid of what I would discover about myself," Claire admitted. The admission hung in the air, thick with implications. Lisa felt the resolve within her shift. Claire hadn't just vanished. She had been searching for her own identity all along. "So what now? What do you want from this conversation?" Lisa probed, needing clarity. "I want to be honest. I want to share my journey, the mistakes I made, and how I've been trying to learn and grow," Claire said, her voice gaining strength. "If we're going to move forward, I have to show you who I truly am now." Lisa crossed her arms, wrestling with the vulnerability that crept in at Claire's words. Could she really believe that her sister had changed? Questions swirled in her mind as she considered the implications of letting Claire back in. What if this was another facade, another retreat in disguise? Yet, didn't Claire deserve a chance? She wanted to believe in possibilities rather than past failings. "I've done a lot of soul-searching myself," Lisa said finally. "But it's worked for me only when I confronted my fears. If you're willing to be honest, I think I can too." Claire's eyes lit up, a mixture of relief and hope blooming between them. "Then let's start fresh," she said, her conviction palpable. "Let me tell you about why I left and what I've been through since." As Claire began to recount her experiences, Lisa felt a fusion of emotions. Anger, sadness, but also hope. Claire described encounters that had forced her to confront her demons, failed relationships, distancing herself from the very artistry that once defined her, and the nagging absence of a sister she deeply missed. The powerful details cascaded around Lisa, prompting her to reflect on her own journey. She found herself weighing Claire's decisions against her own, recognizing parallels in their pursuits, how both had used art to shield and heal, yet often diverted away from confrontation. As their dialogues turned more profound, Lisa unearthed insights from within her work, how the act of creation had often served as her refuge, shielding her from untold truths. Could Claire's presence illuminate parts of her art that remained shadowed? A silent pact seemed to form around them, an acknowledgement that vulnerability could awaken new layers of understanding. But just as Lisa felt her sister's presence becoming a source of strength, an unsettling insight surfaced. What if sharing the truth meant confronting a reality too painful to bear? As Claire's narrative neared a turning point, Lisa's heart raced, the complexity of her sister's past intertwining with her own. What awaited them as they pressed into this newfound connection? Would it bolster or fracture their evolving identities? Just as Claire's voice wavered, a wave of emotional truth undulating in the space between them, Lisa felt the pulse of a deeper revelation stirring within her, ready to be exposed. But before she could fully grasp it, the question lingered in the air, unvoiced, yet undeniably profound. What darkness might she uncover within herself as they stepped further into the light of their shared truths? As Claire shared more of her journey, Lisa's heart raced with a mix of emotions: sadness, anger, but also a flicker of hope. Each sentence unraveled layers of their past, exposing unspoken truths and hidden connections. Claire described how her search for belonging led her to various cities, relationships that crumbled under the weight of unresolved trauma, and the gnawing realization that running away never brought solace. I kept thinking, maybe one day I'd find the courage to come back, Claire admitted, her voice tight with emotion. But I didn't know how to face you. I didn't know if you'd want me back in your life. Lisa paused, the question reverberating in her mind. Hadn't she felt that same fear? She had built walls, yet here was Claire, testing their fragility. Can we really start fresh, Clara? She asked, the edge of uncertainty creeping into her tone. Claire's response came quietly, almost reverently. I want to be your sister again, to rebuild what we lost. I'm ready to put in the work, but it needs to be real. I can't hide anymore. A gust of air escaped Lisa's lungs, and for the first time in a long while, she felt her resolve solidify. If she could grapple with her artistic journey, merging her identity as an artist with the vulnerabilities she faced in motherhood, couldn't she also attempt to reconcile with her sister? Okay, Lisa said, her voice steady but filled with a hint of apprehension. If it's honesty you want, then let us be honest together. As they delved deeper into conversation, the exchanges began to transcend the bitterness of their past. Long-buried emotions surfaced, challenging both women to confront the shadows they had cast upon each other. They spoke not just of their failures, but also of their growth. I've been creating again, Claire admitted, excitement lighting up her eyes. Art became my therapy. I explored how our childhood shaped me, and I learned how to channel that pain into something beautiful. Where? Lisa asked, curiosity piqued, battling the envy of Claire's newfound passion with admiration. Everywhere, Claire replied, her tone laced with pride. I turned our old attic into a makeshift studio. I painted every feeling, every memory. It's scary, but it feels right. Lisa imagined a space filled with colors, textures, and layers melding into stories that yearned to be discovered. You need to show me, she urged, excitement tinged with skepticism. I want to see what you've learned. The embrace of shared ambition ignited something anew within Lisa, a reminder that reconciliation didn't just require vulnerability, but also support. Could she allow Claire back into her life, while nurturing her own artistic spirit? Was it possible for them to connect not just as sisters, but as artists? As their discussion flowed, Lisa realized how crucial this meeting was. It was a reflection of her own desires. The groundwork for personal fulfillment lay not within the intricate layers of paint upon canvas, but in the candid empathy between them. They had both faced their demons. This was an awakening not just for Claire, but for herself too. I want to dive deeper into my work. I want to intertwine our experiences to capture the essence of both our journeys, Lisa finally stated, a renewed sense of purpose flooding her thoughts. What if we collaborate? Your story's my art. Claire's eyes widened in surprise. Are you serious? You want to do that? Yes, Lisa exclaimed, the energy building between them. I want to weave together our narratives and truths. Let us take the strength we've both gained and create something beautiful. As she spoke, the raw energy pulsated in the room, a potential for unprecedented connection. Neither of them could have anticipated how this conversation would unveil layers within each woman, revealing identities forged through pain, yet yearning for empowerment. That's a powerful idea, Claire responded, admiration radiating from her gaze. We could show the world that our stories matter, bring light to what darkened our paths. Together, the words echoed in the small room, reverberating, with a shared commitment to transform their newfound understanding into artistic expression. And then, unexpectedly, a wave of clarity washed over Lisa. She held the weight of her past, but no longer felt it suffocating. Instead, she felt liberated by the idea of co-creation, her identity emerging alongside Claire's, bridging the void of years spent apart. "Let us get started," Claire said, her newfound vulnerability evident. But as they resolved to embark on their artistic journey together, Lisa couldn't help but feel a deeper shift within herself. With Claire beside her, she could finally face the canvases etched with insecurities and longing. No longer defined merely by her journey or the role she had inhabited, Lisa recognized that she could embrace intertwined narratives between two sisters whose lives had once diverged in hurtful chaos. Instead, they now stood at the pinnacle of redemption, ready to shape the dialogue around resilience and creativity. As the afternoon sun spilled through the window, illuminating the canvases lined against the wall, a profound realization settled within Lisa, a brazen understanding that artistic expression was an embodiment of shared truths. She felt complete and whole in a way she never expected, and she stood ready to embark on this transformative quest. No longer just a single mother struggling to find her footing, Lisa emerged as an artist in her own right, ready to merge her voice with Claire's, creating a tapestry enriched with their intertwined experiences. There was no fear left, only the exhilaration of possibilities. In this newfound relationship, they pushed beyond the boundaries of what had held them back, reigniting dreams not just for themselves, but for each other. The journey ahead would demand courage, honesty, and what lay beneath that deep emotional resonance that had brought them together anew. As Lisa turned back to her canvas, armed with the knowledge that together they could inspire resilience through their artistry, she took a deep breath. This was the moment, her heart welling with an authentic sense of belonging and purpose. She was ready to share not just her story, but a collaborative vision deserving of admiration, resonating with the authenticity of their enduring connection. And in that moment, she understood the power of art, how narratives, when blended, could heal wounds both past and present. Your support is crucial as we dive deeper into these emotional journeys. Subscribe immediately to the channel to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive transformational stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and help us reach those who need it most. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this finale, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who could benefit from these empowering stories. Don't wait even one more second to show your support for personal overcoming journeys.